Good morning, everyone. We will be starting with the webinar. Today's webinar will be about how to implement Palladium on your how to implement Palladium for your clients. Okay, so I'm firstly going to start by explaining to you the purpose of this webinar. Why do you need to? Why do we have this webinar? Okay, so this webinar, we are doing it so that you can have an implementation structure for Palladium, have a skeleton of how you're going to be doing your implementation, basically even guidelines on how to do it. This webinar will at the end help you to do successful and functional implementation of Palladium. We've had issues in the past where implementation are not done correctly because the people did not have the know-how or have a proper structure of how to do a Palladium implementation. So hence the purpose of this webinar, and we thought it would be useful in helping you moving forward with how to do your Palladium implementations. Okay, so I've structured it in a step-by-step structure where you can easily follow and be able to do the steps and check them off as a checklist, for example. All right. Okay, so the first step I've come up with is your homework. It is important for you to do your homework about the client. The first thing that you need to do is collect the information from the salesperson who landed the deal. Obviously, if they landed the deal, it means they understood the business of the client very well, and then they've got documentations and an understanding of how the business works. So the first thing you should do, or you should be doing, is communicating with the salesperson if it is a different person that landed the deal. So do a communication with the person that did that landed the deal, the salesperson. Get all the information you can get from him about how the business works. So because the easier, the better you understand how the business works, the easier the communication, the easier everything else moving forward is going to be for you. So it's advantageous for you to understand and do your homework about the business. Okay. Over and above the information you get from the salesperson or the person that landed the deal, do some research yourself to find out what the business does, who are the key people in the company, and so forth. Those are the things that will help you in the meetings moving forward with the client. So that's it for the homework side of things. Okay, and then the second step, which is quite a big step, which is quite an important step, is setting up a needs analysis meeting. All right, so this is more like your kickoff meeting where everything will be discussed based on the project and how the project is going to be moving forward. All right, so the first thing you do under the needs analysis step is to ensure that all the key decision makers regarding the setup are invited. Right, so all the people that are going to be driving this, all the people that are involved in the kicking off and the financing of this project must be invited for this needs analysis meeting. Okay, and then this is also the step where in the meeting you will be requesting a documented article or a document on what the client expects from Palladium or from this implementation. So the client should give you a document that has all their requirements, all their system requirements on a document, so that you have it written down. You have something that guides you as you are going to be going through with the meeting and the implementation itself. Okay, find out about all existing workflows and shortfalls, because that will help you to propose how the workflow is going to be on Palladium, and also how to solve their problems or their shortfalls on the current systems they're using, and how basically how Palladium is going to sort out those shortfalls. All right, and this I just covered right now. You're going to, after figuring out what those, how you're going to be handling those shortfalls. You're going to have to now you're going to have to recommend solutions to the existing problems they have, and also try to replicate things that are working correctly. Let me say, in terms of the workflow, things that are currently working correctly, you're going to have to now recommend and show them how they're going to be replicated on Palladium. So you can easily show them that it's going to be a seamless transition from how you're doing things to how you're going to be moving forward with things. And then you can also at this point show them how Palladium is going to improve the current workflows that they have. Okay. Discuss and agree on key aspects of the database. Okay, so this is quite important because now it's going to be how the database setup is going to be. So this is the examples of things you should be discussing in this point here would be your chart of account structure. Okay, how is that chart of account structure? Are they going to be taking on the Palladium chart of account structure? Do they have their own chart of account that needs to be imported and so forth? Another thing would be the financial year period, their financial year period. Okay, it's important to know that the company's financial year period, because those are the kind of things you do when you on the setup, the initial things you do on the setup. And if some of this information is wrong, basically the foundations of the database will be wrong. So these are the kind of things that you need to find out. The financial year period, if they are going to be using multi-currencies for their setup, if they are going to be using departments and profit centers, find out what account sets or what kind of account sets they're going to be using, so that when you do the initial capturing of the database, you have this information from the client. Okay. Discuss other cosmetic setup for a potential phase 2 of the project, or even custom development. Okay, so in this meeting as well, other things that you should do is entice the client with other nice to haves that they can have on the system, other things that are over and beyond the core setup of the system, and over and above the requirements that they've stated and requested for, because this can now help you set up a phase 2 of the project. And also maybe if there are custom development, the things that they want and are not catered for by Palladium, that can be an opportunity for Palladium to now do custom reports, custom development for that client, for the things that they want. Okay, so when this meeting is done, you should be able to have all the information or all the requirements from the client documented on your side, and have an idea of how the project is going to go. Okay. The third step would be now the project plan. Okay, so the project plan basically is a formal documentation of the activities or the things, the key points that you discussed in the needs analysis meeting. So in the needs analysis meeting, you got the requirements from the client. You discussed extra things that need to be done. Basically, it was a verbal discussion of the project plan, how the project is going to go from beginning to end. Okay, the project plan is now a documentation of that needs to be signed off, that needs to be agreed upon by all parties involved. Okay, so what I have here is in point form is things that need to be covered, or things that need to be included in your project plan. Okay, your project plan must have dates and time frames for processes and tasks that are going to be happening in the project. So it must be properly dated, and there must be proper time frames, basically saying that this task and this process is going to start at this particular day or at this particular time and end at this particular time. So it's like your planned process and tasks, right? Also, all resources involved in the project and all project drivers from both sides must be documented in this project plan. So it must have a section where all the resources that are going to be working on the project are there, and also all the project drivers from both sides, the client side and your side. It's more like planning a project team that's going to be pushing this project forward. This helps in terms of if there's information required from you that needs to be collected from the client. There's somebody from the client side that can do the running around for you to collect this information for you and then bring it back to you. This fast tracks the project, and also it centralizes all communication and stuff like that. It's better than when you are going to have to be doing the runarounds, meeting every single person to collect the data. So if we've got a project team that handles everything from both sides, it helps the project and fast tracks the project. Okay. And also what needs to be there is the contact details of the above. Contact details of the project drivers and the resources. When we need to communicate with these people, the contact details must be there, easy to find, and they must be documented on the project plan as well. Okay, so stuff like your cell phones or your contact numbers and your email addresses must be documented in the project plan. Okay. And also the project plan must have a proper allocation of processes and tasks to the resources. So the processes and tasks I spoke about in point 1, they must also be allocated to the the resources that are going to be undertaking those processes and tasks. It must be clearly documented in the project plan, so that whenever something is not done properly or something is we need to question a particular process, we know exactly which resource was handling it. We know exactly which project driver was responsible for that particular process or task. Okay, so this also needs to be properly documented in the project plan. Okay. And other things that another thing that needs to be there in the project plan is the estimated project cost plan. Okay, so in there we will estimate costs for this plan for this project from beginning to end, and detail it in the project plan as well. It must be agreed upon from both sides. Okay. We must have a maintenance plan in there as well, documented. In the maintenance plan, things that you'll be discussing or things that will be there would be if the client is going to be taking support, Palladium support from us, if they are going to be, how they are going to be handling consulting moving forward. So this plan must also be documented in the project plan, so that when things in the future happen like that, we can always go back to the project plan and revert to what was discussed and what was put in the project plan based on the maintenance plan. Okay, and then another thing that needs to be in there is the training plan. How are you going to be handling the training of the staff, training of the users that are going to be using the system when the training starts happening? So a proper training plan must be in the project plan itself as well. Okay, and proposed workflow with screenshots. So the project plan also will have the proposed workflow as discussed in the needs analysis. It will be documented also in the project plan, and it must have screenshots from Palladium so that the client can see how Palladium is going to handle it and how the workflow is going to be like. Okay, and then on my step 4, that is now the database setup. After all that is done, after the project plan is signed off, maybe before I get into this, I must I say that the project plan must be signed off from both sides before any work starts happening. because now that project plan lays the foundation of what needs to be done, lays accountability for everything that's going to be done moving forward in the implementation. Okay, so after all the project, after the project plan is signed off and all the parties are happy with the contents of the project plan signed off by both sides, now we can now do start the database setup. And also the database setup will be driven by the project plan because there are dates and time frames in the project plan on each and every task and project that's going to be taking place in the database setup as well. Okay. As far as the database setup is concerned, you first will need to check if there's a data conversion that needs to happen. Okay. If the client is going to be doing a data conversion from maybe a Pastel, from a Pastel database, you can do a data conversion that basically converts that whole database into a Palladium database, eliminating the process of doing imports into the system, all the manual work that needs to be done to get the database up and running. A data conversion can help in such a way that it will bring everything that was in the Pastel database into the Palladium database. Okay. So right now I'm going to pause this PowerPoint presentation a little bit just to show you how you are going to, or how in Palladium you're going to be doing or where to find a data conversion. Okay, so in Palladium, this side, after creating your databases correctly, of course, when you do a data conversion, you must first create a clean database in Palladium. And after creating a clean database in Palladium, you'll be able to get onto the landing page, of course, here, and then go onto the control panel here. And then under your control panel, you'll be able to see here where it says Pastel Partner Data Importer. Okay, so Pastel Partner Data Importer and Pastel Partner Data Extractor, these two tools will be able to help you to do a conversion or bring the data from your Pastel database directly into your Palladium database. Okay, so this down here is where you'll be able to find that. Okay, so there are trainings and other videos on how to do a data conversion. We are not going to be handling it in this webinar because we only have 1 hour and we must cover everything. If we were to get into how to create a data conversion, we wouldn't be able to finish that. But this is where you basically be able to find the data tools to do the conversion. Okay. Now the next thing into my database would be now if this client is not using Palladium, I mean if this client is not using Pastel and you're going to be changing from a different ERP system, or you are basically just going to be, maybe it was a manual system that is used, then it means that master files must be brought in. Okay, so at this point you must just confirm with the client if there's going to be a master file cleanup. And what's involved in the master file cleanup is to make sure that if there's any obsolete inventory that needs to be removed or deleted from the master files that are going to be imported. If there are any inactive customers in the master files that need to be removed, if there are any inactive suppliers and so forth, if inventory needs to be refreshed in terms of the item coding, the item descriptions and stuff like that. So this is where you can do the master file cleanups. Okay, and then the other things, maybe on the price list, check and confirm if the price lists that are in there are the correct and accurate price lists. If anything needs to be changed, if anything needs to be updated here on the master file cleanups, that's where you can do it. Okay, And then after the master file cleanups are done, we must now do manual importation or manual capturing on the system. There are certain things on Palladium when you're going to be doing imports. There are prerequisite capturing. Okay, so there are certain things that you cannot import and need to be captured first on the system before importations are done. Okay, I'm just going to deviate a little bit on the onto Palladium and show you some of the things, some of the initial setups that you need to do on Palladium before you now start with the importations. Okay, one of the first things that need to be captured on the system is your tax codes and your tax authorities. Okay, this is information you can't import onto the system, so you're going to have to manually capture on the system. So your tax authorities and your tax codes over here will have to be manually captured, and they will have to interact or correlate with the tax codes that are in the import files. Okay, so whatever you capture in here must be correlating with the information that's going to be in the master files that you're going to be importing into the system. Okay, terms. Okay, you must capture the terms before you start doing the importations, because now on the importations there will be terms that will be put in there. If they're not captured, you will face errors when you do your capturing, basically telling you that the terms that are appearing on the importation master files are not existing on the system. So this you need to capture first as well. Okay, you need to make sure that the currencies are captured in there as well. If you're going to be using multi-currencies on the system, you must make sure that all the currencies involved are captured on the system as well. Okay, and then under the general ledger account, under the general ledger module over there, all account sets must also be captured before importations are done. Also, the account sets that are here should communicate and coincide with the account sets that are going to be in the import master files. Okay, departments as well need to be captured if there are any departments that are included in the master files. All right, and then under the customers, it's going to be categories. You must make sure that all categories are captured. All customer categories are captured on the system before before you do the importations. Okay. Also, customer categories need to be captured in there as well. Okay. So all categories in all the modules need to be captured before importations are done. Under the inventory as well, those categories need to be captured before you can do an importation on the system. Okay. So those are the prerequisites for when you're going to do master file importations. You must make sure that the things that I've specified or things that I've mentioned now are captured first on the system, and those things correlate with how the master files are going to be. Okay. The next thing now, you'll be ready to do your master file capturing. Under your master file capturing, not capturing, but your master file imports, excuse me. So when you do your master file imports, you must make sure that everything that you're bringing in is in a format that Palladium likes, is in the format that Palladium will accept first. Okay, so you'll be getting your information that is in maybe in Excel from the previous ERP system where it is exported from there, and then you'll have to now do customizations of those import files into a format that Palladium understands, into a format that Palladium will accept. Okay, so you do not have to guess this format from Palladium, but Palladium already has import templates for each and every master file. Okay, and you can get this import templates in Palladium as well, and then structure your customization or structure the import files in that manner. Okay, if I go to Palladium under help here and under import templates, if I double click that, Palladium into Palladium. So for example, if I double click here at the top where it says end accounts, accounts will be for the general ledger accounts. If I need to do any importation, or if I need to do the importation of general ledger master file, let me say the chart of accounts, this is where I'll find the template for it. If I double click on that, it will show me how the template looks. So it is quite easy to follow. Have your let me just check there's something that needs my attention here. Okay, back here. So for column 1, for example, this would be where the general ledger number will be going. Okay, description will be going in there. The account type will also be going in there, but it is dictated by these numbers over here. You do not put the string, or you do not type it in there or copy and paste in there. You make sure that the number it accepts a number in there. Okay, so you must just make sure that on the account number, on the account type, the right account or the right number is captured there. Okay, and here is where it guides you on which number needs to be where based on which account type. Okay, also account group codes are over here, which will be captured data. The data will be captured over here. The account class, also the numbers are here. Okay, so each and every account, each and every template that Palladium gives you, it also gives you a guide on how to enter the information there. Okay, so we've got a import template for your buyouts, import template for your buyouts item number conversion, buyouts location, combined price lists, contract billing, customer contacts, customer delivery locations, customers themselves. I may open that one a little bit to show you what's in there and the examples they give you to enter. So and paste into the appropriate and right columns. Okay, and then once that you are done with the templates, capturing the templates or the master files in such a way that Palladium will accept it, guided by this templates. I'm going to now show you in Palladium how to do those imports into the system. Okay, so all imports into the system for Palladium are under control panel over here. And there is a section down here that says imports and exports, which will give you anything and everything that you will need to, you can import into Palladium. For example, you can import ledger accounts over there. That's where your general ledger will be imported there. I've got my vendors there. This is where I can import all my vendors into the system. Vendor contacts. If I have vendor contacts, which is basically extra contacts for vendors, you can have an import there for them. Customers, you can import customers over there. Customer contacts, you can import customer contacts. Customer delivery, inventory, inventory locations, and so forth. So everything that you see over here is information that you are able to import into Palladium. Okay, so I'm just going to open one here to show you how it looks inside before you do an import, and the steps to follow when you do an import. Okay, if I double click on any of that, you will see that it gives me this window here. This window is almost common, or the options that we get here is almost common for each and every importation that is here. So I'm going to maybe after this also show you how each and every importation looks like and how you can navigate around it. Okay, so the get data button over there, if you click on that, the system will collect all the data that is currently stored on the system for that particular import that you've selected. For example, right now I'm under customers. If I were to click data, the system will now or this operation will get all the data under customers that is on this database or on this company. Okay. If it is a completely blank database, if you click on get data, there'll be nothing coming up. Right. So I'm on a database that has customers already. If I click get data, you'll see that it will bring out all the customers that are there on the system. Okay. I am able to do an export of this information. So basically, I can do an export from Palladium into Excel of any data that I have and that I can import here. Okay. Editing this data outside in Excel and importing it back into the system will update the data that is currently on the system. So it's more like an append operation for Palladium. Okay. That is the export button, and the load file button. If you click on the load file button, the system will allow you to browse to where you saved an import file or an import master file that you need to bring into the system. And import that. Okay. After clicking on load, let me just file that I have saved somewhere. Okay, I'm just going to use one of the default importation files that I have on Palladium. Okay, I set customers, so I'm going to use that. And okay, it seems I can't use that file. Maybe there's an error, but it should be the kind of error I spoke about earlier, where information that must be manually captured on the system has not been captured, and that information does not correlate with the master file information. Okay, but immediately after you click on load, find so you are able to go in there and look at the data right. And you click on the button that says import, it will now start the operation of bringing that data that is on Excel into the system. When this operation is done successfully, you will now be able to see your customers and your customers under your accounts receivable customers here. They should be imported and brought in and ready to be used for transactions, for any sales transactions, for example. Okay, and so like I said, there are other master files. The other master files you can capture over here. You'll see if I go to vendors, the window looks similar to that. You've got the get data there, you've got the export data, you've got the load file, you've got the import. Okay, so those buttons or that navigation remains constant throughout. As you can see under the inventory as well is there. Under the inventory, the extra things you have in there is filtering. You can do an importation, let me say a phased importation of inventory. You can filter it by category and import them based on the categories that you've selected. So down here, as I said, the categories that you've captured, pre-captured on the system will appear here when you click on the drop down, and then you'll be able to import per category. Okay, but as you can see, the basic structure is still there, where you've got the get data, the export, load files, and import. Okay, so this information is constant throughout all the importation there. Okay, we just quickly to check with that. All right. So as far as master file imports are concerned, that's how you will be doing those imports. That's where you will be doing the imports. You can find other trainings on how to do imports and how to structure or customize the import files according to the templates on Palladium as well. So if you struggle with some of that, our support structure or our support department would be able to help you if you give them a call and show them where you're struggling with the import. They would be able to help you and assist with some of the things there. Okay. And then another thing you can import as well is your opening balances. Okay. So if the client is moving from an existing ERP system and they've got opening balances that they want to be carried into Palladium moving forward, the system allows, or Palladium allows you to capture opening balances before they can start working. Yeah. I'm going to also deviate a little bit to go into Palladium to show you where you can do your opening balances. Okay, so still under the importation there, you've got the opening balances import. Under your opening balances, you can do opening balances for your inventory history. You can do opening balances for your customer balances. You can do opening balances for your vendor balances. Okay. So by clicking an importation. Okay, I should also say that on the same window where you see you found the templates, there is a template also for your opening balances. If I come over here, I can see a template for my inventory history. And where is the customer vendor one? There is the vendor and customer history. You will be able to do your importation using those templates over there. And also, as I've said, they will have a guide within the template that tells you how to do the capturing of the data. Customer and vendor information. Okay, this keeps popping up. Check if there's anything that needs attention here. All right, so those would be the templates. We do have the templates for your opening balances there as well. Okay. And after all your opening balances are captured as well, you can now also customize, customization of forms comes into play. Okay. If a discussion has been made on in the needs analysis, and the client has got custom forms on certain things that they want on the system, for example, your invoices, they want their invoices to look in a certain way, to have a certain structure, to have the logos positioned in a particular way. You now need to create those forms, or customize those forms based on the on the client's requirements of how they want the forms to be. Okay, and for you to customize this now, you need a software called uh, Crystal Reports Writer. Crystal Reports Writer is where now all the customizations are done for those forms. Okay, Palladium uses Crystal Reports to read its forms. So that's the software you're going to need to use to create those forms. If you do not have that software, it's a software that you can purchase, or at a charge, ask Palladium consultants to be doing those forms for you by giving them the specifications. Okay, I'm going to show you quickly how it looks creating a form, or how Palladium, how Crystal Reports writer looks like. Okay, maybe if I just open one form here, so say an invoice form, for example. Okay, by double clicking on that, it will open my Crystal Reports writer, and this is how Crystal Reports writer looks like. It's a little bit robust and it's technical as well. So when you come in here, you should be able to use Crystal Reports, and so that you can move things around and navigate properly in here. So this is how an invoice, a default invoice form basically looks like in Palladium. Okay, if anything needs to be changed over here, according to the customer's customizations, there's other things that you can move around and customize this form based on how the client requires it. Okay. Okay, and after all this, after all the information is captured, after all the forms are done and linked on the system, okay. First, let me also show you how to link the forms on the forms that you've customized on Palladium. Okay, so under forms setup over here, any form that you've created or customized using Crystal Reports, for Palladium to be able to print using that form, you must link that form to Palladium. Okay, where do you do it? You do it under form setup over here. Depending on how the system is going to be, you can you either specify the global forms, and the global forms must be accessed or must be in a location where everybody can access it, or local cage forms. If you do local cage forms, those local forms or those forms must be stored on each and every local machine so that they can print on that. Okay, so this is defined per workstation or per workstation. Yeah, it's defined per workstation, and this is maybe placed on a server or on a shared drive where everybody can access. Okay, by clicking on global there, I'm able to now specify forms for each and every operation. For example, delivery note. If my client uses delivery notes and they use a form, I will be able to come up. I got forms for statements. I've got forms for receipts, vouchers, and so forth. So there's forms for basically everything that can happen or that happens on the system. Invoices, you'd be able to specify a copy invoice and a sales invoice there. and give them names. You can do for your sales documents. You can do for your collection, for your collection letters, where you specify your reminder, your demand, and your legal letters. If you have customized your own letters and you need them used when sending out from Palladium. Okay, under payables as well, you can do your bulk RFQs, your requisitions, your purchase orders, your purchase invoices, GRVs, and so forth. So this is the hub of where you link the customization of the forms that you customized into Palladium. Okay. And then the final stage there basically would be now the testing, the final testing of the database. So once you've done all your master files, master filing quotations, and all your manual capturing that you've done on the system, customization of forms, and opening balances, you need to now test if the info, you need to do a final test of the database. Okay. Before everything goes live, you just need to check if everything is going correctly by doing a final test of the database. Okay, so basically this will be a thorough test where you check all the modules, the general ledger module, check everything on it by replicating this on a dummy database, make sure that transactions can go through on the general ledger, making sure transactions can go through on the accounts receivable, accounts payable, the inventory side, all the modules that are basically there on the system that are going to be used by the client. Make sure that everything goes smoothly. And if there are any errors, this is the point where you go back into the database and sort out those errors before the system can be delivered to the client and goes live. Okay. Next step into the implementation will now be the training. Okay, so training needs to be done for the users before they now we go live. Okay, and the advised training structure is so that you do the user training based on their functionality. Okay, if there is a user that uses that is involved on the system in the accounts receivable, separate training will need to be done for those users that are doing accounts receivable. If you've got accountants on the on your payroll or accountants as that are going to be users on the system, training for the general ledger and things that are going to be done on the system as far as accounting is concerned, they need to be done separately. Okay, so you can do it based on functionality on the system or functions on the system, what they are going to be doing, and also hierarchy. Those people that are going to be doing approvals on the system, they can have their own training done separately. So it has to be properly planned for guided by the training plan that you have in the project plan on how you're going to be doing it. Okay, and also you must have a super user training that is separate as well, so that the system you can have a resident, or the client can have a resident a super user or an administrator on the system that can handle the tiny administrative issues and administrative duties that need to be performed on the system. Okay, so that is the training. It needs to be properly planned. It needs to be followed as per the project plan. Okay, after training is done, the project sign-off has got to be done. It's very important, so that all parties are happy with the project, and the project has to be signed off before it goes live. Okay, and then after project sign-off, it is project go live. This is where now hand-holding has got to be done. Hand-holding is important in terms of going live, because now the system, the users, as much as the users were trained before, we've got issues. You may have issues where they've forgotten a couple of things and they need to be reminded of those things. When they make mistakes, certain things need to be corrected. And also before you leave the system in the client's hands, you must hand-holding can help you make sure that everything is fine, make sure that the users understand what they're doing on the system. If there's anything that needs to be corrected, if extra training needs to be done for those users that do not understand, this is where you can identify that need. Okay, and if there's any extra things that need to be picked up as far as processing errors and things that are not going correctly, bugs, this is where you can actually now pick them up and help the client with that. Okay, so the hand holding is important in terms of that. Okay, so as far as now doing the implementation, if those phases are followed correctly, you should be able to have a successful implementation. You should have a functional Palladium and a functional implementation that will have no issues really. Okay. Thank you for attending this webinar. With all that is said, that will be the end of this presentation. And I hope it helps you moving forward. It helps with your implementation. Okay, thank you so much. Goodbye.